goes to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What's going on, guys? What's happening? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad on tap for today. We are 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We're going to top our top three fits by position on the defensive side of the football. Let's get started with our intros. Joining us today is, of course, our co-host. He is Rob Lange. Follow him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. What's going on, Rob?
The Draft Network has taken over my life, and as I may enjoy it, I don't think my wife's been too thrilled. So, I don't know, man. I need this draft to happen now for the sanctity of my marriage, I feel like.
Right back at you, brother. Also joining us today is Tom. Follow Tom on Twitter at TomDS215. What's up, man?
Not much. I've been knee deep in the Buffalo Bills for 2 days now.
Yeah.
So it's fun to talk some Eagles again.
So my man Tom here is going to do a little deep dive into the Buffalo Bills, their offseason, the draft, the team needs, just kind of distraction. Tom, you want to plug a Pod is No Name?
Yeah, I also I'm doing a Pod is No Name. Pod is No Name. We just we're about to wrap up another season here, about to finish another book. We have the finale on Sunday, and then we're starting another book. So if you're looking for like a read along, a nice distraction from the COVID-19 life, definitely hop on board.
Awesome. And our special guest today is Chris Mallee. Follow him on Twitter at Mallee_Chris_24. What's going on, Chris?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Just excited, man. 2 weeks for the draft. It looks like we're getting the green light. It looks like it's still going to go on, even though people are worried about Bill Belichick stealing people's draft picks through hacking. But I'm interested to see how it goes, man. It's going to be crazy, but we need it, though. It's killing it.
Check out Chris from 4th and Jawn. Do you want to plug anything? You got something really awesome going on, don't you?
Yeah, I just dropped a new article. I interviewed David Robinson, wide receiver guru. Awesome interview. He's actually training Denzel Mims, Jalen Reagor, James Prochet, Courtney Davis. He trains Julio Jones, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown. And he's awesome. He actually helped Adrian Peterson actually learn how to catch. So, but he's a good guy though. He played at Oklahoma, and now he has his own facilities. Mahomes trains there, and you can check it out. It's on the 4th and Jawn page. It's on my Twitter page. A lot of information on like the prospects, and we know we need receivers, so I thought it was a good idea to go talk to the guy that's training them all.
Awesome. All right, so let's get this started. We're going to talk our top three fits, position by position on defense. Let's start off, though, man. You know, a lot of the resources this free agency has gone to the defensive side of the football. Chris, what is your overall sense of the Eagles' defense right now before the draft? Has it been improved? Has it regressed? What is the status of the defense?
I think that we improved a lot. I think that there's a lot of questions in terms of leadership, because we saw Malcolm Jenkins leave, a couple of vets left. But at the same time, I really do think that the guys that are here are going to step up. We still have Fletcher Cox. Even though people have split opinions on Jalen Mills as a player, he's always been a very vocal leader. He always led the defensive backs out with Malcolm Jenkins before games the last 4 years. And his transition to safety, I'm an LSU fan, so I got to see him play kind of like the nickel role, safety role. I think he's going to do very well. He doesn't really have great long speed, so I think being back there and just playing deeper than the deepest or box safety is going to help. But I really do think they improved. I really like Javon Hargrave. I think that the meat of the defense, like the defensive line, is going to eat. It's going to make Fletcher Cox's job a lot easier, being able to get fresh legs in there. We really need Derek Barnett and Brandon Graham to just keep progressing. Graham's a pressure guy, not always a sacks guy, but we need it's really the defense is going to come down. It's predicated on pressure. We've seen the defensive back struggle because we weren't getting sacks. So I think Hargrave and the replenished defensive line is going to help a lot. Hopefully in the draft they add some more depth as well.
Awesome. So what about you, Tom? Like, where's the defense right now with the Eagles?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited going into the year. I think they've really improved their secondary overall. They brought in a lot of talented players. I'm not exactly sure how all the pieces are going to fit together and what the exact like alignment of it will be, but I think they have a lot more talent in the secondary than they did last year and a lot more depth. I like the Hargrave movie's probably the most talented player to play next to Fletcher Cox, which should free up Fletch to have a little bit better of a season than he did last year. And hopefully, I forget exactly who was talking about it, but they were saying this is Barnett's first healthy offseason, and they expect a big jump from him. He doesn't have to rehab. He doesn't have to recover. So hopefully we see a jump from him. I'm a little bit nervous about the edge for the Eagles, but otherwise I think it has been a step in the right direction.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I like Chris had said, from a talent perspective, they've obviously upgraded with Hargrave and Darius Slay, and you bring Will Parks over. I am a little concerned on that vocal leadership thing. I know it's an NFL locker room, but that plays, and that at times, when times got tough here, Malcolm Jenkins was kind of the calming presence. Now, look, there's guys there that can do it. Jalen Mills can be a leader. Brandon Graham is a vocal guy. You hope maybe he takes a step up. But, that's definitely a concern. As far as the defensive line, I mean, when you talk about the defensive tackle rotation they have right now with Hargrave and Cox, and then you have Malik Jackson's going to come back off of injury, and Hassan Ridgeway, who had some flashes last year. I don't know if you have a better team. A team has a better 4-man rotation at tackle. And then to me, it is the Barnett show. Listen, Brandon Graham was the one who was saying it. He said this is his first offseason, not having to get back after an injury. That jump has to happen. My major concern, and I feel like it's been a concern since 1979, is linebacker. Because and I know they don't play a lot of traditional linebacker sets, but you're literally right now going into this season as thin as you possibly can be, unless, and we'll see, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, one of these guys gets drafted that you can, plug in and play. And a TJ Edwards should step up. But I am very concerned about that linebacker position.
When I look at the defense, man, everything boils down to Fletcher Cox staying fresh for the playoffs, man. That is the number one priority of the defense. It's all about the defensive line, and I really, really like what they did to the defensive line. Chris, you brought up Derek Barnett. Oh, no, it was Tom. Like, that is such a huge key to this offseason. We could probably see the Eagles spend maybe a top 3 pick on a defensive end. We're going to get into that. But I like what they did on cornerback. They have health finally. Darius Slay. I think Avonte Maddox is going to be on the outside. Roby Coleman is a really good slot guy. So I think they're really good at cornerback. I am not sold on Jalen Mills at safety. That's just me personally. He is not the answer moving forward. He's just a stopgap. Will Parks, sorry, I'm just not convinced. Like you said, Rob, TJ Edwards, I mean, he showed some flashes last year, but could he be a breakout star for, moving forward? Maybe. But man, like, he didn't really play that much. So when I look at the defense, you look at the linebacker position, for me, they upgraded the defensive line. I think they upgraded a cornerback. That's just health. Do they still need to upgrade? I think. They kind of just have a lot of the same kind of nickel corners on defense at that cornerback position. I think I'm like a slight upgrade. I'm not like at a push, maybe a slight upgrade on defense this offseason. And let's talk about positions, because the Eagles kind of really invested a lot on defense this free agency. Which position, when we look at the NFL draft, Chris, lead us off, which position on defense was most important to be addressed with one of the Eagles' top picks in this draft?
I think that's obviously linebacker, but we can all agree that they don't really invest in linebackers like that. I know that Daniel Jeremiah mocked us, Kenneth Murray the other day, and everyone's like, whoa, because Daniel Jeremiah he's fairly plugged in. He used to work for the Eagles, and as his mocks get closer to the actual draft day, they get a little more realistic. Not that he's been right every time, but I feel like he has a good he's with the pulse, like with the team. I think that it's probably linebacker. I feel like we're going to, at most, use a second-round pick on one, even though I really would like Murray or Queen. I think that safety is definitely number 2 for me because, like we said, Mills and Parks are only on 1-year deals, and there's a lot of safeties I love in the second and third round. And I would say third position, it might be corner because you don't really know exactly what Sidney Jones is going to be. And then a lot of the other guys, like I like Avonte Maddox, but like, have they really proven to be not number one because we have Slay, but Slay's obviously an older guy. He'll be here for 2-3 years, but really want to keep replenishing the cornerback one position because we don't want to be dealing with what we have been dealing with last 10 years with corners since Asante Samuel.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Tom. Like, how would you rank the needs on defense in this draft?
Yeah, so I think the clear number one, like Chris said, is the linebacker position. Particularly with the running backs that are in the NFC East, that's a really important position, and I think it is something they actually kind of need to change their mindset on and emphasize. Two, I think they need another young edge rusher. I'm a little bit nervous. You're putting a lot of stock into Barnett, who's shown flashes, but nothing over the top. Josh Sweat, and then BG's getting a little bit older, and then you're bringing in other rotational guys. So I think they could use kind of a high ceiling pass rusher as well. And then third, I would say like an outside corner. I think they need somebody opposite of Slay to develop right now. And if that person can step up long term and be their number one corner when Slay leaves in 2 or 3 years, I think that'd be really good for the Eagles. Because agreed. Like I think Maddox might be best long term as a safety. And we don't know much. I don't trust Sidney Jones or Rasul Douglas. I think Rasul Douglas might be out of here by this time next Thursday. So those are my top three.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, obviously linebacker's number one for all the reasons we've all been saying here. I tend to agree with Chris, though. I think the safety position is a big one for them. They got 2 guys on 1-year deals, but when I think about the Eagles' defenses and when they've been successful, their leader has come from that safety position. Mm-hmm. And after Brian Dawkins left years ago, it took them until Malcolm Jenkins to replace him. My hope is they don't make that same mistake again and just keep trying to put these stopgap guys and it doesn't work out. There's a certain guy, and we'll talk about it, who I am enamored with, that if they got him in the second round, I would be thrilled, because I think that position is crucial for them to really bring somebody in that they can mold into that leader type. So I definitely think safety's third or second, and then I would go with the edge rusher because Brandon Graham, getting older, doesn't get a lot of sacks. A lot of pressure, doesn't get a lot of sacks. Josh Sweat, we don't know what he is. Derek Barnett, we don't know what he is. There are a lot of question marks at that position. And look, there are guys in this draft you can get that can develop for the next year or two with some of these guys you have here, and then maybe become that bona fide edge starter for you. Look, I think we all know this. I feel like we say it every year, but this draft is the most important Howie Roseman draft that he's had, because this is whether we are going to have to live in limbo for a while or if we're going to just stay on that, the new norm, as Doug would call it.
Yeah, like everyone here said, like I'm number one linebacker, number 2 cornerback, number 3 safety. You look at Todd McShay, Trevor Sikkema, and Daniel Jeremiah, and like Chris said, all of them over the last 6 days have projected in their mocks the Eagles are going to take a linebacker in the first round. Like you said, Rob, not since 1979 have they taken a linebacker in the first round. And my gut feeling is there's probably likely that they'll spend probably a cornerback or a safety or a defensive lineman over a linebacker. I would love a linebacker, but I just don't think that's in the cards, man. You look at the history, you look at the defensive philosophy of Jim Schwartz, that ain't happening, man. I would be shocked if that was the case. So here we go. Well, let's start off with the cornerback position. Each one of you are going to give me 3 guys that you think are the best fit at cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Lead us off, Rob. What do you got at cornerback?
All right, so I tried to do a later guy first. So I'll start at number 3. I got Troy Pride from Notre Dame. And what I like about him is he's a high IQ guy, and he's that scrappy competitor at the corner position, and that they're the guys I really like. Those guys that are willing to get in there. He needs to improve his tackling, but he wants to win. He wants to win every ball. He's quick. He can get vertical. So he might be a guy that you might be able to get middle rounds there if you don't want to spend an earlier pick on a corner. From there, I go to Trayvon Diggs from Alabama. I mean, this would be probably you'd have to second round, and you'd have to hope, I think, or move up, which I don't see them doing in the second. But he seems like a Schwartz type of guy. He's a zone corner, good ball skills, good size, right? We think these are the guys that they've drafted with Jim Schwartz here. So I think Trayvon Diggs from and he's the pedigree of an Alabama player, which never hurts in my opinion. And the top one is if they decide to go in the first round, you've seen this name mocked to them a lot, and that's Jeff Gladney at TCU. Really versatile, play man, can play zone. Excuse me. If you're going to plan on playing more man this year than what you've accustomed because you want Slay matched up on that number one, Gladney as the guy on the other side could be a major, major upgrade for you. Because like we said, we don't know. We might have 1,000 corners on this team, but we don't know what most of them are. So, I think, if you go that route, that would be the guy that I take in the first round.
Awesome stuff, man. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so third, I have Dane Jackson from Pitt. Kind of a later round guy, 5th, 6th, 7th round guy, but he's a really physical corner, kind of in that Mills mold. Definitely the types of guys that Jim Schwartz falls in love with. And they've had success drafting out of Pitt recently with Avonte Maddox. And I think he could be a late round pick for them. That works out. Next, I have AJ Terrell. He's kind of a long range corner from Clemson. He did get torched pretty bad by Jamar Chase in the national championship game.
Who doesn't?
But I think Jamar Chase is going to be torching people for a long, long time. So I wouldn't hang that one, too much against him. And then number one, I have Gladney as well. He's all the things that Schwartz loves. He's physical. He can tackle. And he's just the type of corner that the Eagles generally look for. And I think he's honestly a bit higher of a level than what they're normally looking for. So he would definitely be a guy, if they're looking defense in the first round, that they would consider.
Awesome. Go ahead, Chris.
My three people, kind of in no order. Number one is definitely Meek Robertson because he's one of the main visits that we have. Undersized, but he's kind of just like an Avonte Maddox that we like. But if you like, everyone in the NFL, all the scouts are like, I wish this guy was like an inch or two taller because he's ridiculous. Like his nickname's like the Honey Badger 2.0 because a lot of people think he's like Tyrann Mathieu. He's ball hawk and he can tackle. And he's sticky coverage, really good player. He's just undersized. Second, Troy Pride Jr. It's one of my favorite studies from Notre Dame. Awesome story. Whole family almost died in a car crash, and ever since then, he said he's just been like super motivated to just keep living out his dream because he said like not taking anything for granted. Physical, Senior Bowl dominated. Him and Denzel Mims were literally like fighting every single rep. Jeff Gladney is my number one. I like C.J. Henderson too, but I don't think that Schwartz is really going to invest in him because he has the tackling issues. Gladney's awesome. If you want to watch really good tape on either guy, Denzel Mims and Gladney, that game was crazy. They just went back and forth. I think Gladney's very physical. He can tackle, tough, and then his technique's incredible. His knees are always underneath his chin. He's a great player. Really like Jeff Gladney a lot.
Love it. So when I look at cornerback position, I'm looking at guys that are in that like second, third round range. These are guys that I want. I want versatile guys. I want positionless guys that can play all over that secondary, defend multiple positions. Leading off, I have, of course, Troy Pride Jr. from Notre Dame, 5'11", 193 pounds, man. This guy's just pure speed. He's got excellent quickness. He played the 4-3 at Notre Dame, so that's not a problem. He played in between the slot, the outside and the slot, so that's a good thing, and he's quick. The second guy I have is AJ Terrell, guy from Clemson. That's always good. Brian Dawkins, what's up? But AJ Terrell has really good length. He has really good size. He has really good speed. He had 30 straight starts. He played in a 4-3 at Clemson. He played primarily in the press and the zone. He does have average speed, so that's a problem. You know, Howie Roseman wants speed. But AJ Terrell, has all the tools. And my number one is Christian Fulton from LSU. He's just a very good athlete. He can play press. He has really good quickness. I like Christian Fulton because he just has great straight line speed, and that's really what the Eagles need on the outside. Like you said, Tom, I don't know how much longer Rasul Douglas is going to be on the Eagles any longer, but the Eagles just need to have speed on the outside, and they just don't have that. So Fulton played press man scheme at LSU. I don't know how much that fits Jim Schwartz's defense because he likes to kind of, play his quarterbacks a little bit too far back. But anyway, those are my three guys. I think those three are pretty solid. If when I think of like these guys, it all goes hand in hand with that trade down in that first round scenario. Get some assets, another draft pick, and move up into the second round. These are like those kind of candidates that I would love to kind of combine with one of the burners like Ayuk or Rager or one of those guys. So those are our corners. Let's move on to safety, guys. All right, Chris, who are your top three safeties that are best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles in this draft?
This is the toughest position for me because like last year everyone talked about safeties, but like I really didn't like the class that much. But like there's a couple good guys, but like this year, like there's like 5 safeties I really like. I'm gonna touch on 3. Grant Delpit from LSU. He's awesome. I know that people were worried about him because he had like an iffy year, but he played the whole year with like what should have been a season-ending injury, and he really willed that defense. Because last year he was supposed to be like a top 10 pick if he came out for the draft, but he couldn't obviously. And then this year he played injured. His play suffered a little bit, but still a national champion. Still started every game. Antoine Winfield. That's like. He would be awesome. He's like my second round guy. His dad is a former NFL player for the Vikings. Pure leader. If you watched him play for Minnesota, like it was awesome. Sorry if you're a Penn State fan, but that game was incredible. Him and Tyler Johnson just took over on both sides of the ball. And then 2 guys I kind of lumped together because they're smaller school guys. It's Jeremy Chin and it is Kyle Duggar. Both guys are just like they have scouts enamored at the Senior Bowl and the Combine. They tested out of the roof. They're awesome. They probably late second round, early third. But then I've seen mocks with Duggar going like late in the first. I was like, all right, that's probably not going to happen. But it just shows you how impressed people are with those guys. But all in all, like we said, it's important that we get a safety because Mills and Parks are in 1-year deals and they're kind of unproven in the position. We really got to see someone step up, and I think any of those guys would be awesome, especially Winfield. He's a little undersized, but I just think that he would be like the heart of the defense in the DB room.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I have 2 Big Ten guys. So I have Geno Stone as my third guy. He's like another 5th, 6th type guy. He's a little bit undersized. Probably would be better playing that third safety role, that kind of Corey Graham, but leader of the defense, or one of the leaders of the defense at Iowa, really technically sound, doesn't really make mistakes, just a good player to add to your football team. Second, I have Antoine Winfield as well. Like Chris said, I've already lived through all that pain as a Penn State fan. I would like to be on the other side of that. He's got great ball skills. He's fast, physical, and like Chris was hitting on as well, just a leader on defense and the type of player that could potentially fill a void that Malcolm left long term. And then number 1, I have Grant Delpit. I'm gonna chalk up a lot of his regression to his injuries this year. I think he still is that same player. Even playing through that injuries, he's still incredibly physical. He's all over the place. Yes. And I think he's a really special player, and I think he'd be a total steal. Even at 21 or if they trade back into the first round there.
Awesome. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, so it's going to sound a little repetitive with everybody.
Yeah, right too.
That's okay.
But I'll go with number 3. I'll go Jeremy Chin. Listen, he is a physical specimen, this kid. He is just one of those chiseled physical specimens. He can do what it takes to be a safety in the league today. There's some things where he has room growing, but he can do that, playing those nickel dime packages now and develop into that starting safety for you. And he would listen. All my guys are first or second round because I'm telling you, I do feel they need to use a very early pick on this position. Number 2 is the kid I love, and you guys have all said it, and it's Antoine Winfield Jr., and I'm a Penn State fan too, Tom, and I can remember watching that game and just being enamored with this kid and just going, oh, my God. Like love him. Like literally, I would trade up and round to get Antoine Winfield. I don't think the Eagles are going to do anything like that, but I would do it. That's how much I think this kid, he does it all. He can play that man-to-man on tight ends. He can step up and play against the run. He could play. He could just do it all. And the pedigree of his father, having that in his bones, and obviously he's used that to build his game. You know what I mean? And I love the kid. I mean, if the Eagles were to get a wide receiver in round 1 and come back and get Winfield in round 2, I would just say the draft was a home run right there. That's how excited I would be about that. If they elect not to go wide receiver in round 1 and they go the route of safety, I don't think you can go wrong with Grant Delpit. I would get it. I would understand it. The guy has the potential to be, in 3 years, he could be one of the top 3 or 4 safeties in this league.
Absolutely.
And he could be that guy, he could be that presence that we talk about from that back end for the Eagles, the Dawkins and the Malcolm. He could be the next guy in that lineage. So if the Eagles went that route, that's one of the guys that I would say, okay, I'm okay with you not taking receiver because you just got an absolute stud to play the safety position.
Yeah, Rob, me and you are on the same wavelength here, man. I'm really focused in on that second round in the secondary in general, but especially at safety. My number 3 guy is Ashton Davis. He's 6'2", 202 pounds. He's from California, but just super fast prospect. And he's also a really good special teamer. He can give you kick returns, all that kind of stuff. But he did see snaps at safety and nickel cornerback and in the slot. So this is a guy that can play multiple positions, just like what Howie Roseman wants. And he plays with an aggressiveness that I think would fit really well with Eagles fans. My number 2 is obviously Grant Delpit. I've been talking this guy up for months, I feel like. But yeah, like you said, Rob, one of the highest ceilings of any prospect is Grant Delpit. Super talent, awesome size, very quick. He can play downhill. He can go A to B to keep up with the speedsters on the outside. He also played nickel at LSU, which is extremely important for Jim Schwartz's defense. And another thing that is kind of important, but for me, it just sold me. His teammates and coaches call him, basically compare him to Troy Polamalu. I'm sold. And number 1 is Jeremy Chin, 6'3", 221 pounds. But this guy's so physical. He's got a huge wingspan. He's got outstanding ball skills. He plays strong safety in a 4-3 at Southern Illinois. But it's just his combo of size and speed that makes him just so legit. And man, just his versatility, flying all around Jim Schwartz's defense would be just a perfect fit, man. Jeremy Chin. Let's move on to defensive end. Rob, give me 3 guys that you have zeroed in on that would be best fits.
All right, so the first guy, my number 3 guy I'm going to say here is a guy that if they haven't shored up this position, you're getting into the mid to late rounds. Alton Robinson from Syracuse, I think, is a nice fit for them. He's a situational pass rusher right now, but he likes to do the wide 9, and we know that Jim Schwartz likes to go to that wide 9 look a little bit on those passing downs and just let these guys, get upfield and rush the quarterback. I think he could be a solid value pick if you haven't shored that position up and you're getting into the latter rounds of this draft. At number 2, I'm going to go with Anthony Jennings from Alabama. I think he's just a good, solid defensive end. It'd be a good rotation guy early with the guys we have here. He's kind of what I was talking about when we talked about this position. Good rotation guy early, but develops into that starter and that guy that can do a lot for you. He's long, he's smart, uses his hands really good, and you may be able to get him in the 3rd round. So it might be a nice pick for you there in that 3rd round. And my number 1 is more so if the guy falls. If we know the Eagles. If they can make the trenches better, they will. And Clavon Chasen from LSU, if this guy somehow falls and he's sitting there when the Eagles pick, there is no way in hell Howie Roseman's not picking. It's just what he does. You know what I mean? It's just kind of his thing. He sees this guy, he's going to take him. He's a great finisher. Okay, he's a dog on the field. He's that junkyard dog getting in there and mixing it up. And if he falls into that area, don't be surprised if the Eagles make that move, because we know all of us fans can say whatever the hell we want. They want to go trenches where they can, and if this guy was there, I'd be stunned if they didn't, take him at that point.
I'm right with you, man. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I would love Jason. I'm very concerned that he is going to have a nice big blue star on the side of his helmet for the next 12 years.
I know.
My third guy is Jonathan Grenard from Florida. He really good prospect. Started his career at Louisville, transferred to Florida. Uber aggressive pass rusher, was supposed to be like one of the sack leaders in the SEC. Battled through injuries a little bit this year, but a really, really talented guy. Next, I have Curtis Weaver from Boise State. Not super, and this will be for both my second and first guy, but not super toolsy in terms of arm length and speed and all that, but just incredibly productive at Boise State, and we've seen those defensive guys translate in the NFL, and I think he could be a really good player. And then my number one, another guy who has fallen down boards after the season has finished, but is a player I really, really like, and I'm going to stick my flag in the ground for, is AJ Epinesa from Iowa. Incredibly powerful, impacts the game. It just like beginning of the year, I was touting that Yetur Gross-Matos was going to be a better player than Epinesa, but as the year went on, Epinesa just changes the game in so many ways. In the run game, the pass rush, he's just so powerful, and he's quick, and he knows how to use his hands. And I think he's getting pushed down unfairly because of his testing numbers, but long term, I think he might end up being the best or the second best pass rusher in this class, behind Chase Young.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
So I really like Alton Robinson from Syracuse. Rob was talking about him. I like his size. All the guys I picked, they all were at the Senior Bowl, and they all dominated. I thought they all had really great weeks. Alton Robinson, awesome size, speed. His hands are really aggressive. I love the punching power with him. Kenny Willix from Michigan State, he's number 2 for me. He's awesome. He's everything, academics, awesome leader. Anything you need from him. He's just a surefire DN from Michigan State. And then the two I kind of bunched up together because they were playing next to each other at the Senior Bowl. They were just ridiculous. It was Bradley and I and Josh Uche. Both guys are probably like late second, third, and early third round picks. But either guy, like I hate to say it, but like I could see them jumping onto our line day one and being better than both ends that we have. Not to throw shade at either of our guys, but like they're both like freaks. Like Uche and Anai, like the way that they just dominated the Senior Bowl, like hurts the entire game. Like he was trying to get a stock. Jalen Hurts was trying to get a stock up. He couldn't because Anai was in the backfield every play. I think the coaches actually told him, like, dude, like you got to go to the sidelines because like these guys are trying to actually put on like a show and like get some good looks. Like Hurts was just running for his life or getting sacked every single play for like 3 drives. It was terrible because like I wanted to see the receivers play, and every single time, and I was just like strangling Jalen Hurts on the ground. So like any of those guys would be awesome. I really want to get some youth inside the edge position, and Jim Schwartz loves it too.
Yep. All right, so a lot of repetitive stuff here. I've zeroed in on that third round for a defensive end, man. So a lot of these guys here are kind of my targets here in that third round area. I've got Khalid Kareem. He is 6'3" for Notre Dame. Just really good size, length, technique. He's really smart. This dude had a 3.7 GPA in high school, 3.6 at Notre Dame, but he played 4-3 at Notre Dame, and he also played some time on the outside. He played some time on the inside, so he has that flexibility that Jim Schwartz wants to do on that defensive line. My second guy is Jonathan Grenard. Tom, you already brought him up, from Florida, similar to my number 1, but he's got a really good first step, really good quickness. Like you said, Tom, he broke a lot of records in that SEC for tackles for loss, for sacks last year. And my number 1 is Bradley and I, 6'3", 257 pounds, just great first step. He played left defensive end at Utah, just broke a ton of school records. He's just quick. He's got an immense motor. All three of those guys would be really, really nice fits for the Eagles. I'm not sold on kind of their rotation guys like Josh Sweat and those kind of guys. They need an upgrade from that point. And then we move on to defensive tackle. After the Javon Hargrave signing, like I'm looking at like the mid-round guys. What about you, Rob? Who are some of your top 3 targets, best fits at defensive tackle here?
Yeah, you kind of said it. I don't know how big this position is going to be for them right now, just because I know that they're always looking to build, and if guys could be there. So my number 3, and I don't even know if I'm saying the name right, is Leki Fotu from Utah. And what I like about this guy, he's probably an early mid-day 3 guy. He's a big kid, but he's explosive with that size. And I think he could be a really good rotational guy, which we know they like to do here. And it's a nice situation for him to come into where he's not going to be asked to do a ton right away because they got 4 guys there that I think that they're confident in. But, I think Ridgeway's only here in a 1-year deal, so he can learn. And to get to learn from guys like Hargrave and Cox and Malik Jackson, it's not a bad place for a young guy to come and kind of, get his feet wet a little bit. Number 2, I went with Ross Blacklock from TCU. And part of the reason was he's a 305-pound kid, but he doesn't move that way. Like he's super quick and has this athleticism for being that size. He's a violent tackler, which I love when a defensive tackle just gets in there and will just drive a guy into the ground. Obviously legally now because we know that the damn rules are changing and all that. But and then my number 1 I went with was Justin Matabuke from Texas A&M. I know that the Eagles like guys that have versatility, and he's someone that can slide out and he can play that 3 technique. He really does a good job of pushing the offensive line back. And I think that's going to appeal to the Eagles because of the versatility. And if they are going to go this route, would we really be surprised if the Eagles took a defensive tackle in this draft? Like, would that surprise anyone knowing the way they are with their lines? So I'll go with Matabuke as my number 1 guy.
All right, man. Fully agree. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I have 3 kind of later round guys. So I have James Lynch from Baylor, very productive. Similar to my ends, these guys are all kind of, not super toolsy, but just very, very productive in school. Rashard Lawrence from LSU. If you watch any LSU game, he's in the backfield nonstop. He's not Chase Stein, doesn't have that absurd speed off the edge. He's not Delp, but he's not Patrick Queen and all those Stingley and all those incredible athletes that they have. But he's a playmaker, and they love him, and he's the type of guy who I think would be a great rotational piece for the Eagles. And then 3rd, like Rob, I have Leki Fotu. Grew up playing rugby, was a high school All-American, so he can tackle and move in space.
Cool.
And he's going to be more athletic than you expect. And anyone you can get off of that Utah defense who was absolutely incredible this year, just grab one of many prospects they have because those guys are killers.
Go ahead, Chris.
My 3 guys, Blacklock, he was if we take someone early. I kind of lumped Gallimore from Oklahoma there too. Those are 2 guys that I could see Howie if they slide to 53 because they're supposed to go late first round, early second round. If they somehow get close to 53, I could see Howie being too intrigued to get one of them. The 2 main guys I'm looking at, they're 5th or later. It's Benito Jones from Ole Miss. He's one of my favorite prospects. My one buddy Gino, he was a scout down at the Senior Bowl. He's like, dude, this guy, just because he's a little slower and he's not going to test well, he's going to get looked past. But him and Kinlaw were just dominating all week down there. Tyler Clark from Georgia, he's kind of my sleeper. I think he could even go undrafted. But I think him just sitting with Ridgeway and all those guys just in the rotation, he'd be awesome. There's an article about him just saying he's the silent killer of the Georgia defense because real quiet guy. He's not a huge stats guy, but he was just the heart of the defense for that team.
Yeah, my targets are guys that are big, but they're light on their feet and they're versatile. So my 3 are Rashard Lewis, just like Tom said. 6'2", but just another big guy. He's a big boy, but he's light on his feet. He was a 3-year team captain for LSU. He didn't put up like any kind of ridiculous stats, but he did all the dirty work on the inside. My number 2 is Laurel Murchison, 6'2" from North Carolina State. Really good athlete. Can get to the quarterback. He plays with a nastiness, and he started all 25 games the past 2 seasons. He played kind of all over that line, and he has a really good motor. And my number 1 is Jason Strobridge from UNC. So this guy is just very agile, has long arms, very good quickness. Just another big boy, 6'4", 275 pounds. He can handle double teams. He played defensive tackle and on the edge at UNC. So all of these guys, I think, would be really good targets in that like 5th, 6th round area. I think I agree though, Chris. I think it would not be shocking to see, a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a young defensive tackle. I love Javon Kinlaw. For a long time, I thought he's a beast. And for a long time, I thought if there was anyone that the Eagles are going to trade up for, not a wide receiver, it was Javon Kinlaw. That's obviously not happening because of Hargraves and all that kind of stuff. But you never know, man. This is Howie Roseman. And last up, we have linebacker. This is going to be fun. Chris, who are your top 3 best fits at linebacker in this draft, man?
Man, I spent so much time just going over linebackers because everyone knows like that's what we need. Unrealistic, but like I kind of lumped it in like the tiers of like early, middle, late. Queen and Murray. Those are 2 guys that we'd be looking at in the 1st round. Patrick Queen, he was just a pleasure to watch as an LSU fan. He dominated sideline to sideline, super aggressive, sure tackler. Murray, he's a little raw, but he's just such a great athlete and he's such a good kid. NFL Network just highlighted a really good story with him if you have time to check it out. My mid-round guys, probably late 2nd, early 3rd. It's Malik Harrison from Ohio State and Logan Wilson from Wyoming. Sorry. Yeah, but Malik Harrison, the issue with him was the coverage abilities, but then he showed up at the Senior Bowl and he was picking off all the quarterbacks in coverage at practice, and then in the game he picked off Jalen Hurts, and like, okay, it looks like he's working towards it. I really like Wilson. I think that he would be a perfect plug-and-play day 1 guy for us. I think Wilson would start for us right away. And then the 2 mid to late guys, it's Justin Strnad. He's one of my favorite guys. Really good kid from Wake Forest. Good in coverage and effort. There's so many times where like people are just running away and he talks them down for like 20 yards. Really good kid. And this guy, I don't know why he didn't get invited to the combine. I don't know why he's not getting attention. He's actually from Philadelphia. It's Daley Harding from Illinois. He was the Big Ten player of the week or one player of the week almost every week. People were saying him and Chase Young were the most dominant guys in the Big Ten, and he broke about like 10 records in the NCAA and school records. So I don't know why he's not getting talked about, but Daley Harding's really good. He's all over the place. He's a perfect coverage guy. If you haven't seen tape on him, he's awesome. Like every single time he's on the field, he's either tackling someone or he's just around the ball all the time. I think that he'd be a steal because I could see him just going undrafted because no one's talking about him.
Awesome stuff. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to look up that guy, that Daley Harding. That sounds like a fun watch. The other thing I wanted to say, I wanted to kind of hit on this earlier when you were talking about all the mock drafts with the Eagles at 21 taking a linebacker. I think it's pretty interesting that Daniel Jeremiah had the Eagles taking Kenneth Murray there at 21 because he's also been kind of openly saying that if Jefferson's there, he is 100% going to be the pick for the Eagles, put it in ink, which leads me to kind of like looking through the tea leaves or looking in my crystal ball here that he expects 4 receivers to go before the Eagles pick and that they value those defensive guys a little bit higher, whether it's a linebacker, safety, or an edge guy. So I think they might end up going defense here, which would surprise a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But my third guy, Logan Wilson, Wyoming, almost had 400 tackles in college, and 11. He had 11 interceptions in college, so he can definitely play in coverage. He's a sure tackler. He doesn't miss tackles. The only question with him is the step up in NFL speed and competition, whether he can adjust. But I think he might be, and I know the Eagles have interest in him, and they've done a FaceTime conference with him as well. So I could see him penciled in as like a third or a fourth round pick for the Eagles, where they normally like to take their linebackers. Second, I have Malik Harrison, just physical, in the backfield, great on run defense. And then I was reading through Bruler's the Beast draft guide, and he mentioned that he doesn't have those refined coverage skills, but he has showed in spots that he can drop back. Like Chris was saying, at the Senior Bowl, he definitely showed some of that versatility. And then my number one guy is Kenneth Murray. I think he's got the tools. He's productive. He's a leader. I think he's raw. But I think we can trust Schwartz and this defensive staff to kind of mold him into a player who could be the heart of this defense for the next 10 to 12 seasons.
Yeah, man. The top 3 linebackers in this first round are just pure speed. And Howie's been saying it, like they need to add speed. And there you go. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, so number 3 for me is also Logan Wilson. I know Wyoming's not this big name program, but here's a smart football player. Here's a guy who can tackle, he can be physical. As you said, some of the scouts want to talk about his hips not being great, but 11 interceptions in his career. He can get out there. He can defend the pass a little bit. And I agree with Chris. I think he starts from day one. And I think he would be the type of guy they go for in that third, fourth round as well. 2, just like you guy, Malik Harrison. I know he's more of the run stopper. I know that the talk is he doesn't guard the pass. But so if it starts out early on that he's an early down linebacker, well, the way the Eagles defense plays anyway, that may not be a bad thing, right? They're going to bring out a bunch of DBs and 3 safeties and all that kind of stuff anyway on those passing downs. So, if you got an opportunity to pick up this kid, I would love a thumper in the middle again. It's been a long time since we've seen that thumper in the middle for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then number 1, you could go either guy. I'm going to go with Patrick Queen. I'll talk about Patrick Queen. If the Eagles don't take a wide receiver in round 1, this is one name that I'll say I'm all in, because this guy is just a player, man. He's just a player. Side-to-side speed, every down linebacker, doesn't have to come off. A leader. Listen, the Eagles haven't done this since Jerry Robinson, as we were talking about earlier, back in 1979. So the MO is that they don't go linebacker in the first round. But once again, does Howie change his philosophy, knowing how important these things are? And that's one of the glaring holes on what could be a very good defense. I know you don't use them, but I mean, a guy like Patrick Queen solidifies that for you, and even Murray as well. So, but Patrick Queen's a guy that I'm fully on board with them going defense, if that's the name they're calling.
Yeah, Rob, I fully agree with that. For my top 3, the Eagles haven't drafted a linebacker before the 5th round since 2015, and Howie Roseman wasn't even the general manager then. So the guys I've zeroed in on are like 3rd to 4th round kind of guys. That's just my gut feeling with how this draft will eventually play out. My number 3 is Davion Taylor. He's a 6-foot linebacker from Colorado. So a lot of my guys, I just want to preface, these guys are fast and they can cover. Because when you look at the defensive philosophy of Jim Schwartz, these are guys that need to tackle and they need to cover. They don't necessarily need to kind of rush the quarterback or anything like that. But Davion Taylor, he's a very, very good athlete. He can play drop back. He played a lot of nickel in Colorado. So he just needs a little experience. He's very raw, but like in terms of measurements and tools, he's got it. It just might take some time. My number 2 is Troy Dye from Oregon. Just super athletic. He started all 4 years at Oregon. Just another guy that can cover extremely well. He's just that modern linebacker that would, just like Malcolm Jenkins, he play linebacker, play some safety. This guy did the same at Oregon. So, and my number 1, of course, is Logan Wilson. I just love that guy, man. Quick, physical, Mike linebacker. Just like you said, Rob, just give me that guy in the middle, man, that can get it done. This guy's a playmaker. He started 52 straight games, so you don't have to worry about that, at least knock on wood. And he's just a pure leader. He's a 3-year captain and just a tackling monster. So just be a beautiful fit for Logan Wilson in that Jim Schwartz defense. I think that's pretty much it, man. Rob, any final thoughts on this?
I was kind of joking with you guys before we started. I've been doing all these mock drafts now, and it's like every time I get to the Eagles pick at 21, I'm doing something different. You know what I mean? Like I'm trading down. I'm staying put. I'm drafting deep. I even went as far as saying the Eagles are going to do what nobody wants them to do, but probably would be a bad move. And they'll draft an offensive lineman at 21. You know, like they'll do something that no one's expecting, because there have been too many times where I'm watching the draft and something happens and I'm ready to hear a name called, and the name I hear called is someone I never thought of with the Eagles in that first round. So I needed to get here because although I will say this has been great quarantine activity, just focusing in on this draft. I need to get to your guys' level where I'm like watching film and stuff like that. If I can get the girls to turn Disney Plus off for a little bit, I'll get into that a little bit this week. So we'll see how that works out.
Love it. Any final thoughts, Tom, before we wrap it up?
Kind of like I hit on before, my picks for linebacker. I do think, like, based on what we're seeing in the media right now, and you know that you should never trust what you hear or see in the media 3 weeks out to the draft, but I'm going to do it anyway. I do think there is a possibility that all of those top 4 guys go. So Ruggs, Lamb, Judy, and Jefferson, and that they're not as high on a Rieger or a Mims, and they do go defense there. Particularly if there's like a run on tackles and quarterbacks. There could be a really, really talented defensive player there at 21 that they can't turn away from. So I think it's more of a possibility than we're letting on.
Awesome. How about you, Chris?
Dude, I'm just trying not to do too many mocks before the 2 weeks. I did one. It was like the dream scenario. It was we traded back from 21 to like 26 to 30 range, and then we picked up Rieger and around it was like 28, and then we grabbed a second round pick. We took Damon Arnett, who I wanted to scream at myself for not mentioning him as a cornerback that I like.
Yeah.
Are we going to take him? I don't know, but I think Damon Arnett's probably the most underrated corner just because Jeffrey Okudah just overshadows. I even forgot about him tonight, and I wanted to talk about him. I was highlighting him the other day because he's awesome. He's been starting at Ohio State forever. Okudah is just kind of like the guy that gets all the shine, but he's awesome, though. It's really exciting that we're finally getting to the draft. These guys, it sucks that they're not going to get the opportunity to go on the stage, but they actually just announced that 58 guys are allowed to be in like the chat room when like the draft's going live. So it's going to be a mess, dude. It's going to be like the Brady Bunch. There's going to be like all these people on the screen fading in and out. They're probably going to see like weird stuff in the background, but it's going to be awesome though. Like at least it's just happening.
All right, guys, we are 2 weeks. Go ahead, Rob.
Real quick, someone tell the Draft Network to stop letting Jerry Jeudy fall to 21. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
happen.
Dude.
It's getting me too damn excited. It's driving me insane. Today I had CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy available to me at 21, and I'm
Ain't
sitting there
happening.
going, why are you doing this to me right now? Like it's
You
so
almost,
annoying.
have to, you almost have to not pick them because you just know they're not.
I just restart, man. Like Jonathan Taylor went first in the one draft, and as soon as it hit restart, and then who was it? It went Herbert. No, Tua was available in the second round. I was like, I have to stop. I just restart every time. I'm like, this isn't even worth it.
It's not.
All right, guys, 2 more weeks. We can do this. Make sure you follow Chris on Twitter at Mallee_Chris_24. Check out his article coming out on 4th and Jawn. For Tom, follow Tom on Twitter at TomDS215. And for Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
And the Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man. And being just posterized, Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles.